Good morning, and thank you for joining Resilient You with Alicia Pozsony. On our show, we have guests each week that are subject matter experts or have been through something that gives them resilience. This week, we have someone I'm so excited to interview. We have Janet Sanders, who is a certified health counselor. She is also a Juris Doctor, attorney. And most recently, she is the founder of Blood Sugar Central, a virtual coaching center, as well as Great Life Incorporated. Janet, welcome to our show.
Thanks, Alicia, and I'm really excited to be here. I am new to podcasting, so this is actually very exciting for me to be doing this. So I appreciate your inviting me to be on today.
Wonderful. Well, our show broadcasts out of New York as well as Manchester, United Kingdom, in over 200 countries. So this program is far-reaching. Stephen Kuwoko is an acclaimed radio personality, as well as the producer of the show, and we're so glad to have this on Power 98.5 FM. So Janet, I want to talk about, you have so many service offerings out there. You have a wealth of knowledge. And I thought maybe we might start out by you telling your story to give our listeners a little bit of perspective as to where you're coming from.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. It's actually a very I have a very diverse background. I started out as an attorney. To make a very long story short, being an attorney is very stressful, as one might imagine, and I didn't realize it at the time, but I was sort of eating my way through being an attorney. I was just, going for the sweets. That's really how I got through the stress, and that was a familiar pattern for me. And I guess about 10 years into it, I started to have health problems. And again, long story short, I ended up developing type 2 diabetes. And I made a decision to transfer out of traditional law into working with clients and doing consulting for law firms. And I did that for many years. But as I was doing that, I was also dealing with my diabetes and trying to turn that around. I went to a holistic doctor. That's a doctor that is an MD, but also understands how to treat a chronic illness more holistically, incorporating food and exercise and emotional well-being. And I turned my diabetes around with, I guess I am sort of compulsive, trying to take things in my own hands, and I developed my own 12-step program to turn my diabetes around. And my doctor was so impressed that she started sending clients to me. And before I knew it, every Saturday my living room was full of people who were trying to turn their diabetes around, and I actually had a lot of success with it. And so I thought, well, I really should learn more about this. So I went back to school to become a holistic health counselor. I went to Institute of Integrative Nutrition, which is actually one of the largest nutrition schools in the country. It was an amazing experience. We were lectured by people like Deepak Chopra, Andrew Weil, the biggest names in the business, as well as it had a wonderful curriculum, and I became a certified holistic health counselor. And so from there, I founded my first company, Great Life Inc. And at the time, this is way pre-COVID, everything for me was in person. I was, working with gyms. I was actually the director at a gym of their nutrition program. I was running programs, and I wrote a book, The Diabetes Coach Approach, and was just developing my business. I will note, as I was still working in the corporate world. I did not actually, stepping forward, didn't actually retire until last year. So I've always been multitasking, so to speak. And one of the things that I saw throughout all of this was that for about 10% of the people, if they're diagnosed with diabetes, all you need to do is go to the doctor, get a prescription, get told what to eat, and you're off, and you're turning things around, and you're doing great. But for the other 90%, and I would include myself in that, it's a whole nother picture, because diabetes is a very complicated chronic illness. And one of the most important things you need to control is what you eat. And as we all know, what we eat can be tied to so many things. For me, I am an emotional and stress eater, and always have been. So we all know what to do. Of course, we need to eat more vegetables. We need to cut out sugar in all its forms. We need to exercise more. There's a bunch of things that we need to do, and we all know what to do. But what I learned was not everybody knows how to do it. And so my coaching really focuses on putting the how into doing all of this. And it's been a long evolution, but what I'm working on now is a 12-step blood sugar coaching program, and it really ties together the what and the how, and it ties together all of the holistic aspects, not just what you eat, but what they called at IIN secondary foods. You know, what is your life like? What's your emotional state? What are your stress levels? How are you sleeping? How's your work going? Like, it all ties together when it comes to conquering diabetes and bringing your blood sugars under control. And some years it goes, I've been diabetic for 20 years. Some years it goes great, and some years life gets in the way.
Yeah, now this is so true, even for people that don't have diabetes.
Exactly.
You know, you and I had a conversation maybe during COVID, I think, and I was struggling at that time because I had gained weight and I had other health, issues. Doctors couldn't figure it out, and it was definitely a challenging time in my life. And because of the weight that I gained, a doctor had said, you're not, and that's what I was worried about. Oh my God, am I diabetic? Am I insulin resistant? Am I having these issues because of the sugars and my body's inability to function properly, right? Well, because I didn't have the typical, signs of a diabetic, symptoms rather. So anyhow, after talking with you, I was like, okay, Janet is a wonderful resource, and there's so much information out there. One of the things that helped me was some of the inspiration you provided me back then with the meals and the different recipes and the different examples of how you can eat well without, because it's not just, you have to just eat plain vegetables without any flavoring, without any, it was so inspirational to me, Janet. I just want to share that. To see that you have this virtual coaching center launching online, listeners, I want to make sure that you're aware, Blood Sugar Central is the virtual coaching center for conquering insulin resistance and diabetes together. If you want to learn how to cut sugar and yo-yo weight gain, conquer diabetes, and get your life back, Janet can show you how to do this affordably with 24/7 access and without deprivation or dieting. Now, I hope you're listening, and I hope you heard me. This just sounds too good to be true.
Well, what I discovered was, if you had other problems, let's say you're having a problem with alcohol, or you are having a problem where, you have an eating disorder, or some of those other things. There's actually places where you can go. Okay, you can go to a rehab. It'll be covered by insurance. So it can become affordable for you. It can be doable. What I saw with diabetes is there's really nowhere to go to deal with all of the issues that need to be dealt with. You can do it in pieces. You of course have your endocrinologist, you have your doctors. Many people will rely on a Facebook group for support. But what I saw is that really with something like diabetes, you're really making massive changes. And how to make these changes is so important, and it's weaved throughout my program. And so I said, well, I want to develop a place where people can actually go. And because I work with people all over the world, I decided it was going to be virtually. And if you go to my website, you'll see the pages aren't even normal pages. They're places. There's the Coach and Cook Kitchen. There's the Serenity Cafe. There's the Newly Diagnosed Lounge. And the idea is that you can visit these places there you go, as often as you need to go there. And it's going to be, a lot of it is free. It's sort of like a lobby. You can go to a lobby of a gym. You can go to a lot of free things, get your brochures, get some basic information. And then if you want to work with me more in depth, if you want to become part of the community, I'm making it incredibly affordable. Because one of the things for me, quite honestly, it's not about, I have to live like everybody else and pay my mortgage, but it's really a passion for me and a mission. It's not about I'm trying to charge as much as I can to the people that are coming. So that was very important to me, that it be very affordable for anyone who wants to participate. And so when you become a member of our community, you just have access to all of these resources, to weekly coaching, to workshops, to email support, and to a mastermind coaching program, which is actually, I've sort of patterned it after AA programs. I've actually been a lot in that world. I'm not going to get into it a whole lot here, but I do have people in my family who are very enmeshed in the AA world, and I've learned a lot about it through that. And I think it is important to have that type of consistency through the program and to have clarity and connection to yourself, to understand what it is that you're trying to, like where you are and where you want to go. So all of those types of concepts are weaved into the program. But that's what the Virtual Coaching Center is all about. It's a place where you can literally go to and become part of a community, and also have a very solid program that will lead you from step A to step B. I mean, the program really starts with how we change our mind, how we let go of the past, how we understand how to adapt to new ways of eating. If you want to live a low sugar lifestyle, how do you do that? And then we move on to, because the mind is so important. We can't really change if our mind is not bringing us along with those changes. And then we really focus on nourishing the body, learning how our body works. One of the things people always ask me is, can I eat this or can I eat that? And the answer is, you can look to an expert for that, but the real answer is, how is that food working with your body? If you're diabetic and you eat something and 2 hours later your blood sugars are soaring, you have your answer. That's probably not a great thing to eat. So that's sort of what they call eating by your meter if you're diabetic. If you're not diabetic, it's, if you eat, let's say people ask me all the time, can I eat oatmeal? Well, if you eat oatmeal in the morning, how's your nighttime going? Are you craving cookies, or can you not stop eating? Or if you ate the oatmeal in the morning, you're doing just fine. So you're going to start to understand what foods you can eat based on how it's affecting your body, and understanding how your body works, which I'm not going to get into here, but that's something we really delve into in the program, so that you can start to make decisions on food intuitively, not based on what any expert says, based on how your own body works. And then I work a lot with people on how to monitor and validate, like I said, understanding how those foods affect you. And also, along with nourishing your body, how are you nourishing it with secondary foods? Are you exercising? Are you getting good sleep? What's your stress levels like? And one thing I wanted to add there is, a lot of people come to me and they say, I'm gaining weight and I don't understand it, or I'm craving sugar like crazy and I don't understand it. I'm not eating any differently. But Are you undergoing some specific stress right now? Like, for example, this was a very sad event in my life. My sister passed away recently. Well, that was a lot of stress. And yes, I craved sugar like crazy during that month when we were going through hospice and just going through that. So what's going on in your stress? Maybe it's a new job. Maybe something's going on with you and your kids. Sleeping. Most people do not realize that sleep hygiene is so important. If you're not sleeping correctly, it affects every hormone in your body. And that so there's many different reasons why weight may be coming on, or why blood sugars are erratic, and you may not actually be eating any differently than you were before all of this happened. And then the most important part is reclaiming and enjoying your life. What I really try to help people do is identify the roadblocks that are keeping them back, understanding what's sabotaging you, and then putting habits into place. And a lot of people think you have to do really big things to turn things around. And actually, you can put small habits into place. And I think you talk a lot about this with resiliency. Small things every day that will lead you to the success that you're going through, and then to enjoy life. And that's where you're talking about the food. Food is meant to be enjoyed. So I focus a lot on, beautiful food, presenting it beautifully, making cooking something that fits into your life. Some people don't have a lot of time to cook, so that's why we do almost from scratch cooking. It's no crime to go buy a rotisserie chicken and make a Chinese chicken salad as opposed to roasting it yourself, that type of thing. We learn all about sugar substitutes. At least for me, saying that I'm never going to have sweet taste again was not realistic. So I have really learned how to incorporate healthy sugar substitutes like monk fruit and stevia and other types of things, and make beautiful desserts. And the other final thing I wanted to say is I really try to work with people on their level where they're coming from, because I do have some clients, a beautiful dessert is a trigger. They just can't do it. So there's nothing right or wrong with that. It's just for them, they know, yeah, that's great that you made that beautiful pudding, but I can't even look at that because I'm going to be off and running. For me personally, I can do something like that. It just does not trigger me. So that's also a lot of what we work on, understanding your particular triggers. So, I really have tried to develop a coaching program that, and even if it's group coaching, that we can figure out what works with people individually.
Wow, Janet, I'm so inspired by this. I know our listeners will be too. And I printed out this Serenity Cafe page from your website. And I was looking at it last night, and I said, okay, it's getting late, and trying to prioritize my sleep, because I know that's so important. But anyway, I woke up in the morning and I walked past my computer and I said, what is that thing moving? And I look, and it's the coffee. The steam actually moves. And I was like, wow, that made me feel so calm, and it was inviting. I was like, I can't wait to get back to this, to see what kind of things I can learn and what I can make. And, again, I'm kind of short on time myself, but as Janet said, her website, Blood Sugar Central, is a wonderful website. The design is great. It helps you. There's different sections. There's, a way that you can go in and learn things. You can download for daily affirmations, which I think is a helpful reminder. There's a coaching community, that you can learn how to get the support and empower you to manage your blood sugars and enjoy life. And Janet, that is what is so wonderful. I've known people who have diabetes, and it's like a pity party. They say, oh, woe is me, I can't do anything anymore. And then there's the other side of it, where you are their family or friends or distant family. And like, I have somebody in my family and they're diabetic, and so when they come to my house, I want to know, what can I have ready for them, or what should I not have in the house they're gonna eat these cookies So again, there's so many components of this that might be helpful for people who are, not only the diabetic people, but others as well. I mean, blood sugar
Yeah.
sensor.
I did want to say there that the coaching is not just for diabetics, and maybe it's helpful to just say who else can benefit. First of all, anyone that wants to adapt or move to a no sugar or low sugar lifestyle, everything that you could possibly need is at Blood Sugar Central, and the 12-step masterclass will lead you through how to do that. A lot of people, millions, are now pre-diabetic or have just learned that they have insulin resistance. And in the course, there's a lot of materials on the website and in the course to teach you what does that mean, what is insulin resistance, what is pre-diabetes, and how can I avoid going to full-blown diabetes if I have any of these. A lot of, especially women, come to me who are having weight issues. This is not a weight loss problem, but I'm here for people who are experiencing weight issues that they want to deal with, which are really being, it's really because of the underlying insulin resistance that they're having so many issues, because most people don't realize that insulin is a fat storage hormone. So let me just say that again. Insulin is a fat storage hormone. So if you are having insulin resistance, you may be storing fat unknowingly, and there is a way to get into fat burning zone, and we talk a lot about that. So as I said, this is not specifically a weight loss program. I don't focus on that aspect. However, if you deal with insulin resistance, for myself, when I was first diagnosed, I was 45 pounds overweight. And I was not trying to lose weight in the beginning. I just wanted to get my blood sugars under control. And I almost felt like magically, I was like, weight is just falling off. And it was because as I conquered the insulin resistance, my body just normalized itself. And it has for 30 years. A lot of people experience the yo-yo weight gain, which can be very frustrating, which I did, by the way, for many years in my youth and in my young adulthood. And until I dealt with the diabetes and the underlying insulin resistance, I would say I was constantly putting on the same 20 pounds and taking off the same 20 pounds. And but once you deal with the insulin resistance, that can sort of go away. And there was just one other thing I wanted to say, because you reminded me of it, and I think it's so important. You were saying, sometimes when we do get diagnosed with something like diabetes or any chronic illness, I mean, the first reaction is quite naturally to be angry, upset, and a little bit of poor me and what am I going to do now? And I went through that as well. I write about that in my book. But the Chinese say that crisis has, when something happens to you, it has two components to it, and that is both a crisis but also an opportunity. So when you have something like diabetes, it's an opportunity to improve your health. My health has never been better. My doctors often laugh because they say, well, wow, you have this chronic illness and yet you're so healthy, and that's only because of, working at it. It does take a little bit of work to manage your own health, but also just dealing with the underlying insulin resistance and living in harmony with how your body works. That's really one of the core things that I try to teach people. If you don't fight at windmills, but you instead go with how your body is supposed to be working, then it tends to like that and to react and to respond. And that's one of the core things I try to teach people. And once again, keep saying it, to enjoy life, to get your life back. It's so important. Nobody's going to do stuff that they don't like or that, sometimes you have to do things that you don't like. Let me take that back. But if you have to do that on a consistent basis, as if every day you're waking up and hating your existence, it's going to be really hard to stay on track.
Yeah, well, Janet, one of the things I saw on your website is You say, I'm going to teach you how to major in vegetables, minor in healthy proteins of your choice, depending on whether you're a vegan, vegetarian, flexitarian, or carnivore, and how to choose a variety of electives, such as breads that do not contain grain-based flour, healthy fats, oils, sugar alternatives, and low glycemic fruits that will help you stay satisfied and on track. And, hearing that, it just makes it possible. Like, it makes it sound like, okay, it won't be so bad to give up what I'm doing now,
Right.
and that's the thing I love about this, Janet. You have been through, so many things, like not only your career path, you realized it was too stressful for you and you had to change, and then you had a health crisis, I'll call it that, but you had a situation, you had to bounce back from it, because if you didn't do it, you could die. And
Absolutely.
and your example, again, it's so inspiring, and I just love it that in your retirement from your regular, professional career, you are now turning your life's experience into something that can benefit others. And it's not the average. I would love to have you, connecting with people that can really help you to make this something great. So keep that, get ready. We're going to make those connections.
I mean, my dream is to, have the virtual coaching center, which there's really nothing out there quite like it. Not just take off, but to be the biggest well-known center out there, and to really have millions of people around the globe be able to take advantage of it, and to be able to turn their health around, and to be able to because one of the things you said, if you don't take care of it, diabetes can literally kill you. And it can maim you. It can bring, not to scare anybody, but it's a very insidious disease. It can bring on blindness. It can bring on kidney transplants. It can do all sorts of things, and it doesn't have to be that way. And as I said, many people just don't even know what's available to them, and many people think that it all has to do with income. Like if you can't do fancy things, then you can't conquer this thing. And the other thing I will say, and this is the most difficult thing, and this is something that I really hope, it's one of the reasons I want the business to succeed, is that in order to conquer diabetes, you really do have to eat well. And some people really do not have access, either because of their monetary situation or because of where they live. There's a lot of reasons to the types of foods you need. So I do try to keep it simple. I mean, there's a range. There's some really cool, fancy things. Not fancy, but, like if you're making shakes, there's some really cool protein powders. And quite frankly, some of them are quite expensive. Some of them are not. And I try to really, I'm very practical. So I really try to teach people, okay, here's how you make a smoothie, and here's all your different options. And there's this really cool whey protein powder you could use, or you could use this. And here's the range of costs in terms of the types of things that you can access. But for those that are struggling, what I really would like to do is to develop a food scholarship type program where I can connect with companies like Whole Foods, like Aldi, and connect people up with, I guess, maybe a credit program or something like that, where people can access the food that they need. Because I do imagine there's a portion of the population where, and I know there's people who have talked to me and say, well, that's great that you're telling me that I can do X, Y, and Z, but either I can't afford it or I can't get to it. And then I do hope to have special resources, how to do diabetes on a budget. I mean, it sounds a little bit trite, but it's true. People, not everybody can just do anything they want or have the resources, but diabetes doesn't care. And every person is entitled and has the right to have good health. So I think we all have to work together. So It's coming. I don't have it yet, but I'm hoping to develop a program where a portion of the proceeds will go to a particular fund or a scholarship, and that working with others, we can get the food into the hands of people who really need it. And there are a lot of programs starting out there. Different cities have garden programs and all sorts of things that are going on. And I'm thinking that it would be great to connect with those and just make sure people can not only get the advice, but actually get the food that they need, to stay healthy and stay on track.
Yeah, I mean, that would be great because I know certain people when, they get diagnosed with diabetes, it may be such that they are not able to do the things that they used to do. Maybe they can't. And then later, I know someone who has had blindness and different kidney functioning problems, and he couldn't drive, he couldn't do things that he used to do to get the foods or make the good choices. And so, to hear that, Janet, that would be wonderful. I saw on your website that you have a initiative that you want to stop diabesity, which is a wonderful term. And a diabetes on a budget, that sounds great too. That would be, I think, appealing to a lot of people. As you said, in different countries, you can't get certain foods. One of the things that my mother always instilled in me to eat what was available, locally available in the season, right? And try to be colorful. So, her thought was you could get more vitamins and minerals in a variety of those things that were, different colors. So I always keep that in mind when I do my cooking or, look for different things. But, it's interesting because the knowledge that you have, and when you, share this with people, it changes us and it helps us to become more resilient, right? Like when the doctors told me that, okay, obviously don't eat the sugar, don't eat the fats, healthy fats are okay, but, if you're eating these things and they're bothering you, don't. So I was down to like grain-free, and I'm like, wait, I can't have my oatmeal or I don't understand, what can I eat? It was like, I was so distraught because I thought I had been doing these, healthy choices over the years, but it didn't work for my body. And that's the thing that it came out of nowhere almost, right? Like, but stress was a big thing, right? The stresses that I didn't realize of raising a child, working full time, the things that society today tells us are normal, but really they may be causing more stress that affects our health. And so, this is something that I think is very, very good, Janet, that we're here today. One of the things you mentioned about having a plan and getting to the how. And I bring up my book, I have to do it, Emotional Strength Explained. It's a workbook that might help you if you're newly diagnosed or you're insulin resistant or even on the path to that. If I've had people use the book for weight loss, and it has prompts in it where, it talks about things you've done or situations you've been in and how you end up coming out of it negatively, right? So if someone is working with you, Janet, and for example, they ask, can I have that, oatmeal, and you have them write it down that, okay, no, I was craving cookies the last 3 days. What was up with that? Well, there's a connection there. And so, so consider my book, Emotional Strength Explained, along with Janet and her Blood Sugar Central program and coaching. Definitely two powerful tools that can work together.
And one of the things that I think is important too is there's not an either or. Like I work with so many mentors, and I've tried different programs and experimented and explored them. So working with with Blood Sugar Central, it doesn't mean I even work with people who are in a particular diet program. I'm like, well, that's great. I'm just going to help you with that, and maybe we can tweak that program. Maybe there's some things you're doing in the program that you particularly like. And I'll say a name. I have people who have worked with me that have gone to Weight Watchers, and they're like, well, I really like Weight Watchers. I'm like, well, that's great, but that doesn't particularly focus on diabetes. So let's just bring the two together, and I can help you choose the right programs if that's the food plan that you want to choose. If you're like with your book, like the mind is so important. And I have a library. I must have 100 books on how to change and being resilient. So there's no one particular, path. So yeah, I actually love your book and I've read it, and we're very kindred spirits on a lot of the ideas there in terms of being resilient, because the mind is so important and learning how to change. And the other things to cheer people up is I firmly believe in the 80-20 rule. In the beginning, you may have to be stricter, but as you go on in life, as I said, I've been diabetic for 20 years. It's not something to clear up. You can reverse your diabetes, you can get it under control, but it's never really cured in that if you totally go back to your old habits, your blood sugars are going to suffer. However, once your body gets healthy, I go with an 80-20 rule. And what I mean by that is what you do 80 to 90% of the time is going to keep you healthy. So again, this may not apply to everybody. Some people have such an issue with sugar, they feel they have a sugar addiction, they just can't ever have it. Me, if I go to a wedding, I may have a small sliver of the wedding cake that's there. And it doesn't, that's just me. And there's a lot of people that can do something like that. And I can, because I have a strong program, I can get on track very much the next day. So there's an 80-20 rule, or maybe it's not sugar. Maybe I try to tell my clients, you really don't want to be eating white potatoes. And when you're in the program, we can get into the whole molecular issues of how white potatoes digest and why, if you're watching your blood sugars or insulin resistance, it's not a great idea to have them every day. However, 80-20 rule. If you go out to breakfast and there's some delicious home fries and you want to have a little bit, I wouldn't say eat a whole plate of home fries, but if you want to have a little bit, 80-20 rule is probably not going to ruin your health forever to have that. And I think that for many people, that's important. I know my brother's a diabetic, and for him, he's like, if you try to tell me that I'm never going to have X, Y, or Z, I'm just going to lose it. And I'm like, no, that's not the case. But 90% of the time, yeah, you have to stay on track. But there is that little 10% that, you can fit in there. And I also try to help my clients with that.
Now, you mentioned white potatoes. And of course, I want to get better at everything, right? My life is important to me and this stage in my life. And I want to be there for my family, my kids. And I want to talk about this because our listeners may actually have this as well. If I eat 2 bites of those home fries, I am going to be craving potatoes for the next 4 or 5 days. I'm going to want potato soup. I want a baked potato. Give me the French fries. And it's just, that's how I operate.
So you just said something really important. There's something called trigger foods. So in everything that I've said, the one thing you must understand is what are trigger foods for you. So it sounds like potatoes are a trigger food. So it's sort of sad, but you might be a person that say, no, I'm not having that bite of potato because it's going to send you off. Okay. I have clients like that with chocolate. I can eat a square of dark chocolate and it's not going to make me want to then eat the whole bar or to go off and run to the Wawa to get Hershey's or Kit Kats or whatever. However, I have clients who say, no, if I even put a half of a bite of, chocolate in my mouth, even if it's sugar-free, it's going to send me off. So that's a trigger food. So that's why, I say that change, there's 4 C's to change that are really important. Having clarity, having commitment to your change, it has to be a must, having consistency, and having a community of support. And if you don't have those 4 C's in place, very difficult to change. And clarity. So part of clarity is starting to know yourself and not fooling yourself. And what are your triggers? So it doesn't, and that's where the whole expert thing comes in. It doesn't matter what the expert writes in their book that says, oh, potatoes are fine. Well, if it's trigger food for you, no, it's not. A trigger food for me is cookies. So even if I make sugar-free cookie, it don't matter what kind of cookies it is. There's a book out there called I'd Kill for a Cookie. I really know if I eat cookies, a cookie, I'm going to want to have 20 cookies. So that's a trigger food for me. It's not even about the sugar. I could go into what that's about for me. I can trace it back to when I was in nursery school and was rewarded with cookies. I've discovered the whole thing. But
That's
that is a trigger food.
Well, I just got so excited because, yes, that is, when you talk about emotional eating, that, the fat cookies, and you think cookies and kids, and you think of comfort, you think of, a different time in life, perhaps, when things were easier, when you were, protected or whatever. These are all, important things to focus, and people don't want to do it necessarily, right? People don't really like always going that deep. But again, imagine if you are going through something and you, like Janet mentioned with the cookies, you just love the cookies. You just can't, withstand, like, it's hard for you to make that choice, right? If you're struggling and your health is depending on it, it's more important. And it might be painful at first to look at this. It might be difficult, right? Because who wants to realize, like, you were running to candy because you didn't have your father there? Well, hello. But but once I got past that and realized that the eating, my husband had a great saying. It was, eat to live, not live to eat. And I'm sure he heard it somewhere. And I didn't embrace that right away in our life together when we first got together. Mm-hmm. And then different things took precedence over the eating, right? Because I came from a family where it was like everybody come to the table and eat. And if you don't eat, it's disrespectful. If you don't have seconds, there's something wrong with you. Like, it was definitely, a different thing. And when I saw people who were thin or healthier than I was, I wondered, well, did they not have the same love that I had? What was it like in their house to grow up? So, there's a lot of things that go into this because we're very complex as people. And, what you say, Janet, about, understanding your own trigger foods, doing what it takes for you and your body is very important. Like my husband, he's doing keto and he's done it for a while. And, it seems to be working for him, although I worry about long-term on that diet plan. But anyway, he's like, how can it be bad? It's protein and vegetables, like, and I'm like, yeah, don't forget the cheese and the butter and all the high fats you're having. That can't be good for long-term. But, but again, it's important, I think, to remember that you can live in harmony with foods that work for your body. That's the point, right? That you can make changes, and you might have to delve into it emotionally to think about it, but Janet can really help you get there. I mean, this just sounds so wonderful of a program.
And one of the things you mentioned was about comfort. Most people, I think as humans, we seek comfort, we seek release, and we seek release from discomfort, we seek release from pain, we seek a release from fear. And in our makeup, different people just turn to different things. So you were asking about thin people. I mean, some people reached out to smoking cigarettes. When they were teenagers, they figured out that really calmed them down. And my sister used to say, you can do whatever you want, but you're not taking my cigarettes away from me. Okay? Because that's the only thing that calms me down. Some of us in my family, a lot of people turned to alcohol. So in my head, I think it was like, I'm never going to do that. Food's pretty acceptable. So nobody got on my case for eating cookies, like that's an acceptable thing to do, or, to comfort yourself with ice cream or whatever. For me, I chose food. Other people, unfortunately, may choose, medications. Some people choose exercise.
Yeah.
Some people, and some things we term, well, those are good things or bad things. It really depends on how it affects your life. If you're someone who's exercising, but your life is ruled by it, maybe, for you, that's not a great thing. So when it comes to, food, for me, I've just discovered that was my, that has always been my means of comfort. If I would go to a party where I noticed that from when I was a lawyer, there's a lot of fancy receptions. And a lot of times I wasn't that comfortable there. So I've noticed the first thing I would do is get my plate of hors d'oeuvres and just sort of eat through the party. That just kept me feeling comfortable. And so, but the clarity, it can be some hard work, but it's also very freeing and like aha moments. You're like, oh, okay, that's why I do that. So, and then I talk a lot about decluttering and making an environment that can support you in doing things you need to do. So the most important thing for me, and I don't always do this, is don't bring cookies into the house. If they're here, I'm going to eat them. Now, I have grandchildren, so that's not always easy to do. I mean, they come over, they love they love coming to grandmom's because I give them treats and I have stuff here for them. So an important thing for me, and it's very sad, is when they leave, is it's got to go in the trash. If it doesn't go in the trash, it's definitely going to go into my mouth. It's going to call you. In the night when you're laying there, oh, there's Pepperidge Farms down in the cabinet and nobody's eaten them yet. So, we just comfort ourselves in different ways, and we can just learn, how, and once again, learning how your body works, you can, there's certain things. I've taught people how their pancreas works and how it spikes and goes up and down. And in my class, I teach them. And so now when I look at a big fudge, if I go to a buffet and there's a ton of desserts on there, all I see is this thing in my head of, my blood sugar soaring and going down and soaring and going down, my pancreas freaking out. And it's just like, nah, I'm just not going to do that right now. So, we all go for different things, though.
Yeah, and that knowledge of the whole gamut of everything that goes into what makes us us, I feel knowledge is truly power. It's truly, it's freeing because we can, be more engaged in our life, and as a result, we become more fulfilled because we're not looking for that immediate gratification. I bought some sugar-free flavoring for coffee, and I tried it, and I didn't like it, Janet. What about those of us who like our sweet coffees or our, sugar fixes, right? How can we ease into making better choices? Is it better to ease into it, or is it better just to...
It can be. I mean, for some people, and it really depends. I have people who come to the program, they just want to, and that was me when I just went cold turkey. However, I've realized that does not work for a lot of people, and that's actually not how I teach the course anymore. I ease people into it. Let's talk about added sugars first, then let's talk about hidden sugars. Those are foods that don't really have sugar in it, but act like sugar in your body. Let's talk about natural sugars. Those in fruit and those in lactose. And honestly, if you're not diabetic, I personally, and now I can have all the haters come at me, do not believe sugar is poison. I have 6 brothers and sisters. I have 3 that they definitely eat things with sugar in it. They don't eat a lot. I have a sister who's very healthy. She's very health conscious. But if she's going to have a dessert, she has a dessert. Or if she wants to put a little sugar in her coffee, she puts a little sugar in her coffee. She's not diabetic. I mean, diabetes just doesn't happen to everybody just because you eat sugar. Okay, so it's not a poison. It really depends how that affects you. If it were me, what I would do is put, a quarter. You want to train your taste buds. Let me say that. So that's a way that you can cut back on sugar by putting less and less and less. So I actually love the case of coffee now with no sugar in it. I love, because when you start to train your taste buds, you will need less and less of the sweet taste. Another thing that I learned, and I learned this actually as was a macrobiotic chef, and we've learned this at IIN, there are basically 5 tastes, and I'm not going to be able to say all of them right now because I'm sure I'll forget, but sweet is among them. It's something called umami, a bitter, salty, and yeah, it's going out of my head what the 5th one is. But the bottom line is that our bodies want to have and all of these in the foods that we eat. So if we do crave a sweet taste, it's just where you're going to get it from. You can get it from sweet vegetables. You can get it from caramelized onions. You can, get it. There's all sorts of ways to incorporate that little bit of sweetness. And when you do it with less and less sugar, your taste buds will be trained. I can go into a restaurant now, and if there's sugar in coleslaw, I'm like, oh my goodness, this thing is full of sugar. You will taste it because your taste buds have changed. Other people will go into a restaurant, especially delis are famous for this. They have no idea. They just know they love the coleslaw. They have no idea that it's like full of sugar. They can't even taste it because they're so used. So to backtrack, that's how you can change the coffee thing. Just use less and less. Get your taste buds used to it. And if you don't like, artificial, sweeteners, a lot of people don't. I don't know if you've ever tried things like monk fruit or a little bit of the flavored stevias. I don't know what it was that you were trying, but that's a way to do it, to just cut back, cut back, and maybe put cinnamon in your coffee. Cinnamon brings coffee alive and gives it a very wonderful flavor, or a little bit of natural vanilla. So if you put a little bit of cinnamon and vanilla in your coffee, you may find that taste, it just really brightens it up. It takes, so, I teach people how to use other spices rather than have to have everything sweet. So those are things you can try.
Yeah, that's great. So everybody listening, if you want to, get into a healthier way of living, I know day to day, if you're a sugar person like me, you want to have that sweetness, but as Janet's telling us, we can train our taste buds by using less and less to make it easier on ourselves. And I love that idea. I've never tried flavored stevia, but I'm going to look for it. And we have the monk fruit sweetener in the kitchen, so I'm going to, maybe this afternoon I'll try that. And again, it's your program. I just want to remind people, if you haven't heard, Janet has a website which is Blood Sugar Central. Her goal and dream is to be the most well-known global solution that will help remove roadblocks, give answers to people, to help stop diabetes and stop being an emotional eater. You can reverse diabetes and get in control. So again, this solution is great. And your book, it's a workbook, right?
The first book that I wrote, The Diabetes Coach Approach, is a workbook. I'm actually in the process of writing my second book, Break Free from the Blood Sugar Blues. It's going to be a combo. It's really going to update that book and be a combo of a part memoir, part information, part workbook. And so hopefully it'll be coming out in the spring, Break Free from the Blood Sugar Blues. And that's actually, I'm actually tying everything in synchronistically. That book is the basis of the 12-step program. So it all sort of, of my 12-step program, so it all will tie together in the blood sugar coaching. But they can get on my website now the older book, The Diabetes Coach Approach, but I am in the process of updating that. As in anything in the health world, everything changes. So there's medications I talk about that in there that have been upgraded. Some of my thoughts on different foods have changed. So I'm updating the whole thing.
Wonderful. So again, I know, Janet, we talked about some of your coaching resources. We talked about Serenity Cafe. Is there anything else on your website that you want people to know about?
The biggest thing that I really want people to know about is to look out for the launch of the 12-step blood sugar coaching program. It's going to bring everything together in December. I'm actually offering a special program for founders. The cost for founders will be 50% off the regular costs, and founders will get lifetime access to the master class, and the cost for the monthly coaching is really going to be almost nominal. So if you want to become a founder and support the program, you'll be able to do that in December. I'll probably be launching, putting out the links so that you can sign up for that early in December. And then the program is evergreen. You don't have to join as a founder if you're not ready, but it's the type of thing where evergreen means you can participate anytime you want. You can start anytime you want because people have needs at different times. One of the things that is so important to me is community and people having an opportunity to connect. So there will be weekly coaching and all different types of weekly coaching programs that we'll be building throughout the year. Every month there will be a theme. In December, it's Stay Healthy Through the Holidays. Some of them, in January, it's Getting a Fresh Start, and so on. So really, I just encourage people, if you're looking for a place to go and you're looking for some support, that's really what we're here for. I really encourage you to check it out. I think it's something a little bit different than what's out there. And also, there's no gotchas. You're not going to, I do have webinars. My webinars are to explain to people what my programs are. They're not the type of webinars where at the end you're going to find out that you have to pay $9 zillion to participate. I have really decided I have one program, I have one cost. There's not upgrades, downgrades, there's no gotchas in what I'm doing. And I think that's important because I think there's so much out there. Trust is a really big issue in social, and that's what I've learned. In social media and participating in things, people get burned, people are nervous. And so what I really want to say is you don't have to be nervous or feel like, what am I getting into? This is really something that's mission-based for me. It's my passion. It's really out there to help people. And I know that if you can make it through all 12 steps, it's going to move you forward. And it's the type of thing where maybe you've done step 7 and you're like, I really need to get back to step 5, or you can move just like they do in the AA programs. You can move back and forth. And I've developed a program so that it's not a one-time thing, because staying healthy it's a lifetime. It's how to make lifestyle changes that last a lifetime. And so that's really something that's different in what I'm doing. I'm trying to create something where you can participate in it and you can pull out. You might have a month or two where you say, I'm sick of doing that 12-step program. I just want to give myself a break. And I've designed it so that you can step back, you can step back in. It's very easy to do. And I think that's also important for staying on track. How many of us have had the experience where I've done this when I yo-yo weight gained. I gained 5 pounds, so I say the heck with it. And it could be a year later, I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? That really can be frustrating. So I'm trying to develop something where maybe you go off track for 10 days, but you're going to have a program you can step right back into. Nothing has to be a disaster. So, I really hope people will check it out.
Yeah, so that sounds great, especially for me where life gets in the way.
Exactly.
There's another community that I'm a part of for writing, and it's a nice place. They, if you can't join that week or the next week, I can go back to it, and they don't hold it against me. It's like, okay, great, nice to see you. And it sounds like you have that similar thing, which is It sounds so supportive. So this her community of support, which is the fourth thing that we need for change. If you're interested in making these wonderful life changes, that's going to help you not only physically, mentally, help you to transition into whatever it is that you want to do. You can do it with Janet's help. I loved how you talked about so many things. I don't know where to start, Janet. I don't know. It's like,
Well, that's okay. We could go on and on, but
yeah. Our listeners, Janet is available. Janet Sanders with Blood Sugar Central. You can find her Diabetes Coach Approach Workbook on her website. Janet, what is your website?
My website is www.bloodsugarcentral.com. And the other thing I will say is I do have a free Facebook group, which is also entitled Blood Sugar Central. Excuse me, guys, I'm reading because I just want to make sure I get it right. But if you happen to like Facebook and you want to check out a free group, it's always going to be there no matter what I'm doing with these other programs. It's at www.facebook.com/groups, and it's Blood Sugar Central. So you can always just look up Blood Sugar Central. You can also look me up and look at my profile. It leads you to Blood Sugar Central. But what I do in that group, it's just something that's meant to be a touchstone for anyone that wants to connect with other people. I have daily tips. I have lots of recipes on there. I always keep people up with news with what's going on at Blood Sugar Central. So, and that's another way that you can just check it out, see what you think about what we're doing at Blood Sugar Central. As I said, I try to keep that up to date. So there's a lot of different places that you can get support.
Wonderful. So again, Janet, thank you so much for being with us today.
I really enjoyed it. It was fun.
I know. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to all the things that you have coming down the pike. In December, listeners, if you would like to become a founder for her 12-step blood sugar coaching program, December, look for the link. She's going to have a founder's option where you'll get 50% off the masterclass, lifetime access, and a nominal coaching fee. You can really make a commitment to yourself to make some changes. And you can look on her Facebook. There's a Facebook group as well as her website. We have so many good things to look forward to, Janet, including your new book that will bring everything all together. And again, I'm just so grateful.
Oh, well, you're welcome. And stay in touch, Alice. Alicia, anytime that you need some help and are looking for a good recipe, just let me know. I'm happy to help, happy to give you some ideas.
Wonderful. Well, Christmas is coming, and I'll have people here that I need to think about the taste as well as the diabetes, we'll just say.
I did want to say about the holidays, December is always my month to focus on staying healthy through the holidays. And so on the free website, there's lots of ideas for how you can enjoy your holidays, how you can get out and about and stay on track. It will be, the master class itself is going to Module 1 launch in January. So what I'm going to do in December, because, in December, most people's minds are on having fun in the holidays, is there's going to be a special module to get started with called Staying Healthy Through the Holidays. So if that's something that you would like to do and get your feet wet, you can definitely join me at any time, either on the website, in the masterclass, online, because we're all in the same boat. We're all trying to get through December, come out the other side, feeling healthy in January.
Yeah, that's right. That's wonderful. Well, we'll check that out, Janet. Thank you. And
thanks, Alicia.
Next week we have personal chef and caterer, Chef Renee Blackman. Chef Renee has always had a passion for food and culture, and she's been featured on Tommy Bahama. She opened the Delta Sky Club at JFK Airport, as well as holds a high honor of one of the chefs who cooked at the James Beard House. She's also catered to many celebrities. The list goes on. So join us next week as we interview Chef Renee Blackman on Power 98.5 FM.